people, and welcome to In the End Zone UK. I'm your host, Dom, and thank you for joining our weekly American football podcast. Today, we will be looking at the first week of the NFL Playoffs, and that is the Super Wildcard weekend, and what a wild weekend it was. Before we get into it all, please let me introduce the other half of the In the End Zone team. Across the mic from me is Army Camp in Blackpool, my co-host. It's Big Dave. Big Dave, how's it going?
Yeah, all good. How's things your end?
I'm good, and I'm ready to get into unpacking what was the wildest of wildcard weekends.
Yeah, some great games.
And really good.
Yeah, great for the NFC East. Both the teams already gone.
Exactly. We both predicted that they would be bounced in the first round, and that's exactly what happened. I'm very glad to see it, deservedly so. So, yeah, this week's episode is going to be called the Wildcard Weekend. We approach the business end of the season. This is where every game counts. Every game is a knockout game. You don't get the second chances that you get in Premier League football where you're playing away and a home and then you get the aggregate of the two. You don't get 7 games like you do in the NBA. You get one chance and one alone to get a win. And there were a fair few teams this week that got that win and sent the disappointed teams packing. We will get to those in a little bit later when we get on the clock. But before we get there, Dave, our ever-loving, everlasting playoff. It's time for playoff slap or sign.
Yes, it is.
So, hit me with your biggest of playoff wildcard slaps in the NFC.
This can go to but one man. A man.
Please think it's the same as mine. Go on.
By the name of Dakota Prescott.
Hey! That's exactly it. I'm slapping the same guy.
Wiener of a player who has had nothing but praise from me the last couple of weeks. Came up short. The inflated, overhyped abomination of a team, the Dallas Cowboys, came up short. And Dak Prescott was the main reason why. Absolutely Bob average for the entire game, 50% of completion passes through a Dutty Wino interception, not quite Kyler Murray's stinker, but it was pretty bad. And yeah, when the rubber meets the road, you know, he's running on flat tires, Dak Prescott. He is absolutely stinking in this game. I mean, it shouldn't have even been as close as it was. The Niners did everything they could to choke this game. When that fake field goal happened, I saw it coming 400 miles away. I knew as soon as they set up, they were going to do a fake kick. Was it fake kick or fake punt?
I think it was a fake punt.
Yeah, fake. I could see it coming a mile away.
Yeah. And
how the corner allowed that to happen is beyond me. So it shouldn't have even got to as close as it was. Finished 23-17, as we're going to talk about later on. But Dak had a stinker. He needed a yard, I think it was, on a, third down play? Mm-hmm. Did a QB draw, ran for 15 metres, slid down. This was with 14 seconds left.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Didn't pass the ref the ball, placed it himself. Then they blocked the ref getting to the ball, which caused time to run out. Niners win. I celebrated. Fuck the Cowboys.
Absolutely. Considering your choice of slap, I'm going to change the structure of our slap or sign, and I'm going to also mirror the slap choice. So I'll give you my NFC slap, which is exactly the same as you. It's Dak Prescott. I agree with you entirely, Dave. He had an absolute Bob average game. It was terrible, really, to watch. The Niners outclassed the Cowboys, but if we're talking about the individual, the player, the quarterback, the man in Dallas, apparently, the man that's being paid millihones and millihones to get the job done. If the play in the game wasn't enough to say he was shockingly shit, the final play of the game, the one that you just told us about, where he had 14 seconds on the clock and no timeouts, and it was a design play. It was a design play, so it's not all his fault. But the design play was for him to run, scramble, get a few yards, get down, and spike the ball so that they could basically run a 4 vertical play into the end zone instead of having to Hail Mary it. That's essentially the reasons why they did it, for those that were wondering. But I was laying on my bed and I watched him take off, and I was laughing from the moment that he'd ran more than 3 yards, because I was like, he's not going to spike the ball. He's never going to have time to spike the ball. You don't run with, there was 11 seconds on the clock by the time that before he'd even got up. And you just don't do that. And I was laughing my head off because, number one, it's the Cowboys. Number two, it's Dak Prescott. He's terrible. And the fact that the ref bumbled his way in front of him, it was fantastic. Amazing. And do you know what? The reason, and to finally give you the reason why I'm proper slapping him is because at the end of the game, he didn't even own up to the fact that it was his own mistake.
Yeah.
He didn't own up to it was his own error.
He's come out and he came out with a statement today, because obviously in his post-game press conference, all the fans were throwing garbage and stuff at the refs, and he said in his post-game press conference, good on him for doing it. And he's come out today and apologised to the refs. I don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? You had 1 hour of football. You had the exact same amount of time as the 49ers, and you came up short.
Yep.
Jimmy G was, I want to say, he was a better quarterback on the day, but
he was also shit.
How lucky must you be to get drafted in whichever round he got drafted? Was it a 4th round pick or something? Yeah. To get drafted there, for your entire career, you've had a top 5 offensive line in the league, and you've got 3 number 1 wide receivers. You've got 2, could be starting running backs on any team. You've got 2 of them. You've got a defense which is now good, and you can't get it done. I love the fact that in the last 30 years, the only teams that got Super Bowls in the NFC East are us and the Eagles.
Definitely.
They've got 1 playoff win since 1993 or something. 1.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And that was in his rookie year against you guys, where he just ran in at the end.
He did beat the Seahawks, yeah, but it was a garbage game, and Dak Prescott is just, I think it said a lot about his character when he stepped up and said that it was the referee's fault, that it's got nothing to do with him. Like you say, he played an hour of football, man. It doesn't come down to that one play. It comes down to everything before it and everything that you didn't do to beat the Niners. And that's it. And he deserves to lose. You make silly decisions like that. If you're a quarterback with 14 seconds left in the game and you don't understand how to manage the clock and understand how to manage the time that's in front of you, then you don't deserve to win. Can you ever imagine Aaron Rodgers doing that?
No, not a chance.
Can you ever imagine Brady not knowing how long he had left on the clock?
Not a chance. You saw it the other day when he had 3 timeouts or whatever he had, and he just drove down the field in a minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
From 90 yards in a minute and 10 seconds, because he knew everything. He was throwing out passes. He was throwing, he was doing everything he could to manage the clock to get down, to get the game-winning touchdown. He's everything Dak Prescott isn't.
Yeah. It just does not happen to good quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott, he can throw a ball. That's about it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying the Dak hype. So he gets a slap to start.
Big old slap.
Indeed. Okay. So moving across to the sign. Who are you signing in the NFC?
I'm signing Odell Beckham Jr.
Ooh, Odell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Playing his 2nd playoff game ever.
Yeah.
Gets his 1st win in the playoffs. And he was just clutch throughout the game. He just makes the catches that need to be made. He got a touchdown in this game. He threw a 40-yard bomb of a pass.
Yeah, that was good.
I like Odell Beckham. And I think that all the people that said he was washed because he was playing with Baker Mayfield need to go and take their heads for a shit. You can clearly see the issue when he's got 6 touchdowns or whatever in his last amount of games. And in that same amount of time, the Browns wide receivers have got 1 touchdown. And they're out of the playoffs and he's moving on.
He had a great game. His touchdown catch in the end zone was just an Odell jump up, grab it, get both feet in bounds, tiptoe catch, perfection.
The man's hands are humongous.
Yeah, he can ball.
Not much to say. He had a good game, and I'm glad to see him. Glad to see him in the playoffs, and glad to see him winning on a team that's winning.
Yeah, he seems to. I'm not saying he has, but he seems to be more humble in that offense. Like he's not the only superstar, or maybe it's just on that team. It feels like he's part of a bigger picture. Whereas on the Browns, I feel like he walked in the door thinking, if there's a picture of the Browns, I'm on the front. Whereas I think now he's very humbled by the fact that there are better football players in LA than him.
Yeah, he's been the best. He's been the best player everywhere he's been, apart from the Rams.
Yeah.
He was the best player in New York. He was the best player in Cleveland.
Yeah.
On the offensive side of the ball, obviously they've got Myles Garrett, and now he's come there, and Cooper Kupp's had an amazing season, but you've not heard him whining and bitching about it. He's just kind of slotted in there.
That's good.
Probably realises that Cooper Kupp's going to get a lot of the attention. It's going to leave more balls for him.
Which is exactly what it felt like it did in this game, to be honest. Odell just seemed to be open.
Yeah.
So, nice. Okay, so you signed Odell Beckham.
Yep. Who are you going to sign from the NFC?
So from the NFC. I'm eating a little bit of humble pie right now because I did slate this guy a little bit towards the start of the season, saying that he was overhyped and that I didn't buy into the skills.
I know who this is.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
I'm taking Deebo Samuel from the 49ers. He is being signed. Reason being is that pretty much since I said that I wasn't buying into the hype that is Deebo Samuel, he has made me look very, very silly and incredibly wrong, basically, because he has been the most consistent tool on the 49ers offense week in, week out. The guy can run with the ball in hand. The guy can run and catch the ball. The guy can throw the ball. He's a beast. He's fast. He's muscular. He's strong. He's smart. He's a specimen. I still don't love him as much as I just gave him all of the most lovely props in the world. I still don't really like him as a player. I'm not a huge fan, but I do respect him. In this game, he had 72 yards rushing and a touchdown. He also had 38 yards through the air. So, he breaches 110 total yards. But I think one of the commentators said it whilst the game was playing. It's not necessarily the quantity that Deebo comes up with. It's the moments that matter. Like, he comes up big when they need something big.
Yeah.
If they need a touchdown, he'll fucking bust one for 45 yards and get one. If they need a first down, he will bust through somebody's tackle and get one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it's probably his clutch, is that when you need him to do something, he does something. And fair play to him, fair play to the Niners. I think without him, they are a very different team.
Yeah, he's a rich man's Cordero Patterson, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's built like AJ Brown, but he's got the pace of I don't even know who's very quick. So he's got the pace of like a Tyreek Hill. He's absolutely
he's very
massive.
fast.
And he's just so explosive. And I think, it's a great pick. And I think they've find a way to utilise him. And it's doing them wonders, isn't it? It's getting them through these tight games. So, yeah.
No, it really is. And I think the fact that he's so versatile must be so difficult for a defense, because if you've got Deebo Samuel lined up in the slot, you think, okay, he could be on a go route, he could be catching a little slant, he could be catching a little screen, he could end up pulling out of the screen and catching a jet sweep in the backfield and busting for 30 yards. He could end up taking a wildcat in the backfield and getting a first down. He could throw the fucking ball. Like, it must be such a nightmare to be like a linebacker watching Deebo Samuel or something like that. Or like, imagine if your assignment as a corner is like, oh yeah, you line up against Deebo today.
Yeah, they don't want to tackle. Corners don't want to
No.
tackle, especially not big dudes like him.
Definitely not.
Give them a Hollywood Brown where they can just crush him, but not
Yeah.
someone who's 6 foot and absolutely stacked.
Yeah. So that's why I'm taking him. He's an impact player, and that's what you need in the playoffs. Big games, big spots, big moments. Over to the AFC then. We have some phenomenal games in the AFC. But who are you going to sign from the AFC?
I'm signing Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Because by the night, did he have a game? He absolutely owns the Patriots. He's four wins and 1 loss in the last 5 games. The only loss he had was the extreme weather game where he got slapped the following week, that week by me. And Mac Jones just ran the ball for basically 40 times. No such luck this time, Mac Jones. You got absolutely scored. 21 of 25. He missed 4 passes for 308 yards and 5 touchdowns. The man put on a show.
How many had rushed? Yeah.
For 66 yards.
Jesus.
Off 6 attempts. So he averaged 11 yards a rush. So it's first down. They didn't punt once in this game. They didn't kick a field goal, I don't think.
They didn't. They scored a touchdown on every drive. It's never been done before in a game of football.
That is unbelievable.
Can you believe that? It's never been done, playoff or otherwise. It's never been done in a game of football. A score on every drive. Sorry, a touchdown on every drive. 7 drives, 7 touchdowns. They got and achieved the most yards you could possibly achieve on every drive.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Against the Patriots.
Yeah, against the best coach that's ever coached in the NFL. One of the best defensive minds ever in the NFL got handed their arse.
Yeah. It's a great sign. It's a great sign, Dave, because when Josh Allen gets into this mode that he was in on that day, he's probably the best quarterback in the NFL.
100%, because you can't beat him. Because you might say, Rodgers has got like a nicer arm and he can make all the throws, whereas Allen maybe can't make all the throws yet. Like he's not got that touch that Rodgers has got where he can just drop it in. Like Allen's firing cannonballs everywhere and people are catching him.
Yeah.
But Rodgers ain't running for 66 yards because he's not 6'6" and 240 pounds. You know, if Rodgers took one of the hits that Josh Allen takes, he'd be out with a broken collarbone, spine, and fucking left leg. Josh Allen takes hits and just keeps going. He's an absolute tank. And the Chiefs have got the handful this weekend. The Chiefs are probably, I don't want to say Chiefs are the only team that can beat them, but in the AFC, I think the Chiefs are the only team that can beat the Bills.
Yeah, they are a handful, and they're a handful because of Josh Allen. Yeah. And that is very, very nicely segueing into my AFC sign, which is the quarterback on the other side of the pitch this week to Josh Allen, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I'm signing him this week. Mahomes got the job done against the Steelers, and don't get me wrong, the first quarter was one of the worst quarters I've seen for a while of football. They played a bit of a reserved stalemate quarter. I think they were fleshing each other out a little bit. I think the Steelers were waiting for Mahomes to switch it on, and I think that the Chiefs were waiting to see if the Steelers were just going to try and churn out a very, very slow and low-scoring win, or whether they were going to come out firing. And once they realised that actually the Steelers have got nothing, Mahomes turned it on. And I'm signing him because, I mean, he threw for 404 yards in this game and 5 touchdowns. He threw 5 touchdowns in 11 minutes. In fact, less than 11 minutes of playing time. That also has never been done in the NFL before. In 10.5 minutes, Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns. That is phenomenal. Just like Josh Allen is so impressive, Mahomes is equally impressive for different reasons. The Steelers are a shit team. We get that. The Bills beat a better team on the day, but nonetheless, these two quarterbacks who are about to go at it hammer and tong this could be a phenomenal game this week. And I'm signing Mahomes because he kind of did everything that he needed to in that game. He put the ball into the right places. He was under a fair bit of pressure, had the best pass rusher in the league all over him all night in TJ Watt. And he still managed to get out the pocket, throw some pump fakes to move people around, put some balls on the dime, throw deep shots, throw short routes. He did everything that you needed to do. It was almost like Josh Allen showed us the hybrid clinic, and Mahomes showed us the masterful arm talent that he's got. And the fact that you've taken Allen and I've taken Mahomes, I think is a great shout.
Yeah, that's definitely the game of the week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Onto my slap.
AFC Slappington. What are you doing?
Slapping Mac Jones.
Oh dear.
I very nearly slapped Najee Harris because he sucked. But Mac Jones has got this air of cockiness about him that I don't particularly like. Like, I feel like he's been gifted a good team because he's gone to the Patriots with the best coach in the league. And he proved every second of why he's not. I mean, people compared him to Brady at the start of the season. Negative, my friend. You've got a long road to go to even be compared to that man. He threw 232 yards. He had an alright game, but 17 points when you're getting trounced by the other team is nowhere near enough. And I don't think he showed anything that worried the Bills at all. He's not got a high enough arsenal of weapons in his throwing book to trouble any teams, I don't think. And I'm not sure. He reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit, but a less good version.
No, I hear you. In terms of
he doesn't look good throwing the ball down the field. Yeah, I think he's very limited with his arm, and that'll be his undoing, I think, especially in that division.
Yeah.
Where at least you've got Zach Wilson, who, he's not great, and he's playing a very bad team, but at least he can be creative with throwing the ball.
He's mobile. He's got a bit of a cannon for a small bloke. Yeah.
And then you've obviously got the Bills. You know what's in theirs?
So you got Josh Allen in the Bills. You've got Zach Wilson, and then you've got Tua.
Yeah, and I think the teams wise, the Patriots have easily got the worst in that quarterback wise in that division. Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't think he's special, is basically what I'm saying.
He was inevitably he was on my shortlist for a potential rookie of the year, just because, first year quarterback taking your team to the playoffs is not an easy thing to do. But when you are a defense that's been the caliber that the Patriots has been for a number of years, plus Bill Belichick, I think, like you said, he falls into a much easier scenario whereby he can do a Jimmy G. He can do a small amount of work that comes back with, huge rewards. He's not being asked to do loads. He's not being asked to force the ball down the pitch. And as soon as he was asked to do that, because the Bills were unstoppable, that was just his unraveling. And I think that really, like you said, does not set them up nicely in that division where they're always going to need to put points up, if nothing else, to only beat the Bills. And then and at the moment, they're not going to be able to. So, it's a fair slappage for Mac Jones. And he does look a little bit cocky. I think that maybe he has got out of his station a little bit because he's had unknown success as a rookie. No other rookie has done that in the league this year. So he's probably feeling like the best quarterback in the NFL rookie class this year. I think it'll be pretty proven quickly that he's not.
Sweet.
Nice.
Who you slapping?
Yeah, so I am also slapping somebody from the same team, but it's the head honcho. It's Mr. Bill Belichick.
Belichickius.
Exactly. He's getting a slap because he got embarrassed. we've spoken about it already and said that the Bills beat the life out of the Patriots, which they did, but in the manner in which it happened has got to take its toll on a coach that prides himself on being a game manager and being able to take away your best players and being able to match up against anybody on the day with enough prep. Well, 47-17 is no matchup. He got his ass handed to him coaching wise. I did slap Sean McDermott a few weeks ago when the Patriots beat the Bills in that all-weather game, because Sean McDermott was basically saying like, oh, Bill Belichick didn't outcoach me. I didn't get outcoached. It was just this and it was just that. Well, I kind of buy into him a little bit more now in the fact that maybe that game absolutely just came down to the fact that the weather was shit and the Bills tried to play football and Bill Belichick essentially played rugby. But he did not take his team into a position or put his team in a position or change anything at the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter that was able to do anything against the Bills. They couldn't stop them once. 7 touchdowns on 7 drives, an NFL record that has never happened before has happened against the potentially best coach of all time, and he had his pants pulled down in this one. He deserves to put his tiny little tail between his legs, because it was very cold, and waddle off into the off season and decide what he wants to do to try and make the Patriots relevant again. Because for me, with the structure that they've got and the roster that they currently have, they aren't going to be relevant. They got themselves into the playoffs due to some good coaching, but they're not going to be relevant for a number of years under Mac Jones. He's limited.
Tell you what they need to do. They need to go out, trade Mac Jones, and whatever else they can, and get Deshaun Watson. He is their only hope. He's the only thing that's out there that's reachable to be competitive in that division.
Absolutely. Why not?
Their team's old as well, you know. Like, a lot of their players are old.
Yeah. That's what I was saying about their roster, because it's not one that you can sit back and go, "Ooh, yeah, this one's going to get better."
Yeah. So we shall see.
I mean, who've they got that must be in their last couple of seasons? They've got one of the McCourties,
Kyle Van Noy.
Kyle Van Noy's got
older
to be
than God's dog.
Yeah, Dante Hightower is not looking good anymore.
How old's Judon?
Yeah, he's about 30 odd. He's probably still got some couple of productive years left. I know their offensive line's not getting any younger. You are right.
Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, Nelson Aguilar.
Johnny Smith.
Yeah, they're all the wrong side of late 20s, if not 30s.
Yeah. Dante Hightower. Yeah, Devin McCourty. Yeah, so I think.
Yeah, you are right. That team could fall off a wagon.
They may be in trouble.
A little bit of troubles. And they're our slap or signs, Dave. It feels very basic, considering we only had a few games to talk about, but I think every single one of them is deserved. So if we move on, we're gonna unpack these games a little bit more. We are in the playoffs, bear in mind, listeners, so there is a shortage of games to talk to, but at the same time, every game just means a little bit more. And so we're going to now begin on the clock. And the first game that we're going to talk about, Dave, is a game that we haven't spoken anything about. We've not mentioned a single player.
No, I did notice that.
In this one. And this was the Raiders from Las Vegas taking on the Cincinnati Bengalis, the Bengals. This one was a battle of the AFC, 2 teams at 10-7 each. Both had won 10 and lost 7. It was at the Bengals' house, being played in Cincinnati, and the Bengals came up trumps, 26 to the Raiders 19. Talk us through this one, Dave. This was an interesting, yet, for me, unexciting game.
It seemed a bit boring, I think, didn't it? I think I was hyped because it was the first game that was on.
Yeah.
And I thought Yeah, I thought it was on at 6, so I was buzzing to watch it, and then I realised it was 9:30, so I had to temper my expectations slightly and go and do something else for a couple of hours. But no, it was alright. I mean, the team that I think we both said would win won. And I'm liking the Bengals more and more. There's not a lot to not like about them. I like the quarterback. I like Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is a walking 100 yards. I need a great game. CJ Uzama or whatever his name is. I quite like him as I think he's been in the league about 9 years, I think, so he's not like young. But when they were talking about the game before the start, they were saying about how many of these players hadn't been, like something like, I think it was 36 of the 53-man squad hadn't been to the playoffs before.
Yeah.
So it was quite a rookie, not a rookie team, but a young, not playoff experienced team, and they didn't really play like it. They played well. They kept the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders, just to get to the playoffs, I think, considering the season they've had, shows something. And Derek Carr kind of had him in it. He didn't have a bad game, to be fair to him. But he threw 54 passes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And then a stinker of an interception. But
he did. Interception was thrown to seal the game when the Raiders were trying to come back. They had 19 points and they had the opportunity to tie the game if they'd have scored a touchdown, which would have taken it to 26 all and potentially into overtime, which was probably closer than the Bengals would have wanted. I think the Bengals are a far better team on paper anyway. But the Raiders did well enough to, I suppose, stay relevant. Their defense sort of came to play in spurts and fits, and Max Crosby had a good game for the Raiders. He seemed to be like a little bit of a man possessed, legitimately, like there was something wrong with him. He was kind of tearing through the offensive line quite a bit and putting Joe Burrow under pressure. But Burrow's just class, man. Burrow is just class. 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, 116 to Jamar Chase again. He's got so much poise for such a young quarterback, and people do forget how young. And we've said it enough times, but you've got Derek Carr on one side of the pitch, who is a 9 or 8 year vet. He's supposed to be like the king of poise and really able to get, amongst it at the line of scrimmage. And Burrow just made him look like he's son. But
Burrow is actually 25 years old. So
right.
his experience in the NFL is this is his second year?
Second year, yeah.
He's older than Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Daniel Jones.
Right.
Josh Allen.
Right, okay.
I think he obviously must have spent longer in college or whatever, but it shocked me a little bit when they said how old he was compared to, they listed, I think about 4 or 5 different quarterbacks that he's older than, which is strange, but that's maybe why he's so good.
Yeah. Just the experience.
Yeah, so instead of like maybe sitting for a couple of years behind somebody and then being older when you start playing, he's come in at an older age, and that's why he probably makes better decisions than some of the other players. Is this the game where, I can't remember which game it was, I'm pretty sure it's this one, where he wheeled out to the right, threw the ball, the ref blew the play dead.
Yeah.
And then he caught it in the end zone.
It's worth talking about. It's worth talking about that. Yeah, so there was a controversial play where the referees and the referee team technically blew the play dead because they thought Burrow had stepped out of bounds. He then threw the ball into the back of the end zone and Tyler Boyd caught it for a touchdown. And by the rules of officiating, because the whistle was blown, the play should have been blown dead and they should have replayed the down. But instead, the refs got it a little bit tangled around the necks and they allowed the play to stand. So that is the game, Dave. You are right. What do you think about that? Do you agree, disagree? I mean, I personally don't think it would have changed the outcome of the play. He was wide open in the end zone.
It probably wouldn't, but I think, the NFL's removed them, so they aren't going to be officiating any more playoff games. So the NFL must agree that it should have been blown dead, and then they replay the down. But I ultimately agree. I think the Bengals would have found a way to win either way. And worst comes to worst, they'd kicked a field goal and they'd have won by 3 points instead of 7.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have changed that game, I don't think. No,
I just thought that the whistle, as much as I'd also do agree, by the way, in the fact that you play to the whistle and that's how it goes. So I do think that the right call should have been that the play be blown dead and that they replay the down. But what I meant is that he didn't actually step out of bounds, so the whistle was incorrect to start with.
Yeah.
The fact that the whistle was blown pretty much whilst the ball was in the air, I don't think that as a Raider you could have been like, oh, I could have made that stop if I'd have not heard the whistle. I feel like the touchdown was going to be scored anyway. It was just the fact that if the Raiders want to turn around and say, we could have stopped that play if the whistle hadn't blown. I don't believe that. I think that's bullshit. So should it have been stopped? Yes, because the whistle had been blown in error. But the fact was that the whistle was blown in error. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you know, it's kind of, it would have been harsh on the Bengals if they'd have replayed that down and then shown the replay and been like, well, fucking hell, they blew it dead, but he was inbound. So you can't really win as an officiating crew there, apart from the fact that you don't blow the whistle. That's what video, surely that's what video fucking referees for.
And every scoring plays reviewed. So he scores a touchdown, they go back, no, he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah. Don't blow the whistle.
Yeah.
Easy.
It is especially in the NFL where everything is stop-start. There's plenty of time for people to challenge calls, review things from above or whatever. So I do agree with that.
Fair enough. So that was the game that ended the Raiders' season, and the Bengals advance into the divisional round of the playoffs. The game that we had after that is one that we have recapped a fair amount, and that was the Bills taking on the Patriots. So the Bills of Buffalo taking on the New England Patriots. Patriots came into this game 10-7 in the regular season. That's 10 wins, 7 losses. The Bills came in 11 wins and 6 losses, and this was destruction derby. If you ever played that game back on PlayStation 1, the Bills were just driving around, smashing into the Patriots however they choose. 7 scores on 7 drives. Josh Allen with 308 yards and 5 touchdowns. Devin Singletary with 2 touchdowns. Dawson Knox 2 touchdowns. Anybody you like had 2 touchdowns in this game, and the Patriots got bullied every single time the Patriots had to give the ball back to the Bills. I mean, to me, it showed the Bills' potential. And if they can play to this potential, they are Super Bowl bound and potentially Super Bowl winners if they can play to that potential over the next 3 games.
I kind of think we're being cheated a little bit, because I think that we should have had this as the conference championship game.
Right.
However, we haven't. We've got it this week. I do think, though, that the winner of this game is the winner of that game, the Chiefs-Bills game, is going to the Super Bowl. Well, I can't see... I mean, Joe Burrow on his day can put points up, but he's not doing it consistently enough where the likes of Mahomes... You know what you get with Mahomes in the playoffs. You know what you get with Allen most games. I feel like Burrow can sometimes not be that guy, or his team can let him down. I think the Bills are the stronger team. Maybe do I? I would slightly give them the edge because I think offensively they're very good. Defensively, the Bills are way better than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean defensively, this is again they held the Patriots off. They had the number 1 defense apparently in terms of yards and scoring and any other major metrics in the NFL this year. That's a quiet number 1 defense.
Yeah.
Didn't really hear much about it. So if they can tie it together, which is what they did in this game pretty much, they destroyed the Patriots, who, in fairness to them, have destroyed some teams this year. It just shows you how much better the Bills are than most teams in the NFL when they can turn that on and do that. Was there any bright spark for the Patriots in this game? Is there anything to look forward to? I know we've just handled them by saying they're all old and shit. But is there anything? Is there anything for them to look forward to going into the off season now that their playoff run's over?
Not really. It's just experience for Mac Jones, I suppose, isn't it? But I think if you was the general manager, I don't think they've got one. I think it's just Bill Belichick. I think he must be worried. He must look at it and be like, we shouldn't let Tom go because he made this turd shiny, put a bit of glitter on it, and won Super Bowls, or at least got to Super Bowls with it. I don't know. I just think the only positive they can think is the fact that Mac Jones has got a load more experience now.
Yeah.
And it'll make him better.
Yeah. No, I'm struggling to find where the Patriots sit within this one, because yet again, they're going to be left with a very late pick in the draft this year. Feels like their needs are greater than just a singular pick. They're not going to necessarily get what they need to be, Super Bowl or high deep playoff contenders with just, a 26th round pick in the draft. I just don't feel like that.
No.
They used shitloads of their money last year in terms of cap space.
Yeah, a lot of it.
So I don't think they can get much better. So like you say, the only bright spark is that Mac Jones has been a solid quarterback as a rookie this year. If he gets better, then I suppose in turn they can get better, but they are limited by his limitations, and they seem to be very Jimmy Garoppolo-ish in the fact that he's not got that cannon of an arm. The boy's fat, so he can't move very quickly. So
He's a bit of a chunky.
He's a bit of a chunky monkey. And the Bills obviously charge on towards the Chiefs. So that was that game. As we move through the next game that week was the Chiefs from Kansas City taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you know what I'm like, Dave. If the Seahawks are out of contention, you know where my allegiances lie. I'm a Chiefs fan in the playoffs moving forward, and it was nice to see what everybody wanted to see, and that was the Chiefs laying Big Ben down to rest. I didn't want to see the Chiefs get upset by the Steelers, even though it could have happened, because it wouldn't have been right. The Chiefs went into this game 12 wins and 5 losses. The Steelers snuck into this with 9 wins, 7 losses and a draw. They didn't deserve to be there. They all knew it. No player on the Steelers team this year has deserved a playoff spot bar TJ Watt. Najee Harris, overrated. Ben Roethlisberger, overweight.
Overweighted.
Overweighted.
As Jonathan Ross would say, he's overweighted.
Overweighted. And yeah, they just didn't deserve to be there. And the fact that they got the brakes beat off them, albeit it took a little bit of time, no points scored by either team in the first quarter. Then the Chiefs put 21 in the second, 14, and then 7. They just dumped on them. And yeah, Mahomes did something, another record that's never been done before. 5 touchdowns in less than 11 minutes of game time. They just decided to switch it on and bury the Steelers. So it was a good game to watch. Different types of touchdowns, deep threats, nice little tiny dump off balls that went for big yardage. Travis Kelce had a game. Tyreek Hill did a fantastically funny celebration that somebody was talking to me about today. He grabbed the pom-poms off the cheerleaders and started doing a weird cheerleader dance. I thought it was just what you needed. I woke up in the morning to watch this game, and I just needed to see a spectacle, and that's what we saw. The Steelers, fair and credit to getting there, but they did not deserve to be in the playoffs.
No, definitely not. And I'm glad they've gone. I mean, they were my pick to win the whole thing, the Super Bowl, but Big Ben's done. He's out of the league. The Steelers, the Steelers aren't, as much as they're a chuggy organisation, they aren't a bad organisation. You can't have 3 coaches in fucking 40 years or whatever they've had and not have your shit tied up tight.
Mm.
I think they must have a plan for quarterback, whether it's try and get Ross, try and trade for Aaron Rodgers, whatever it is. Because if they don't, they be buggered.
Yeah, Mason
Rudolph's
got
nobody. No, they've got no backup whatsoever.
I read a rumour today about Kirk Cousins and the Steelers, actually.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So, but yeah, so the Steelers are out, and the Chiefs now move towards the Buffalo Bills in what Dave is stating as the game of the week. And it was a good game. Chiefs 42, Steelers 21. Next game we've spoken a little bit about, but we'll go into it in a little bit more depth. This was the GOAT, reigning Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady and his Buccaneers, his swashbucklers, his Pirates, taking on the Eagles. And when I say taking on, they were taking down, putting them to bed, rocking them to sleep, because the Eagles were woeful and the Buccaneers did exactly what they needed to do to beat them. Buccaneers went into this one 13 wins and 4 losses. Eagles edged into the playoffs again with 9 wins and 8 losses. This one finished 31-15. Dave, I know that you despise the Eagles, so I'm not going to deprive you any longer of being able to rub it in. Take it away on this one.
No, they are shit. What I didn't realise is that they'd not beat a winning team in their last... Oh no, so the teams that they played all had losing records the last 9 games apart from the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. And they lost to them.
They didn't beat a team with a winning record all season. This game proves how much they come out this morning and said Jalen Hurts is our quarterback, our quarterback going forward. And do you know what I say to that?
Good.
Thank fuck.
Yeah.
Have him. Because he's shit. Yeah, he threw for 258 yards of absolutely meaningless football. He threw 2 horrid interceptions. He led their team in rushing. So basically they've got a running back.
Yeah.
That's what they've got. They've not got a quarterback. He's got a below average arm. Distinctly below average. And I'm so glad they lost. They were down. They didn't score. They scored 15 points. Their 15 points came in the last quarter. They didn't score any points in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
They were down. 31. They were down 31-0 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
No wonder they scored 15 points because Tom Brady had been asleep for 40 minutes by the time they scored a point.
Yeah. The Bucs took a lot of their starters off, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely suck. I just cannot wait till next season.
We said it from the start, and this is why it was so frustrating to see the Eagles make the playoffs, because Jalen Hurts, I can't understand it. There's pundits all around the NFL right now licking his arse, saying that he's a great quarterback, he makes great decisions, he reminds me of a young this and a young that. He reminds me he reminds me of a young fucking arsehole, and that's all it is. He's not a good football player. I've slapped him, I think, probably 3 times this year. You're not getting 3 Dom Ainley slaps if you're a good football player. Let me tell you that, because he is fucking shit. He had a good opening week where everyone started going, oh, maybe Jalen Hurts is the one. And from then, all he did was throw underthrown, overthrown, intercepted, shitty wobbling passes every 6 attempts. And he ran the other 5. He's woeful. And what pisses me off even more is that the Eagles got into the playoffs at 9-8. 9-8. The amount of teams that missed out on the playoffs that are better than the Eagles.
Oh, so much better.
So many teams are better than the Eagles in the NFC. Yeah. You've got the Vikings who underperformed, but they are 10 times the team that the Eagles are. I'm sorry, and I'm going to say it, but the Seahawks are fuckloads better than the Eagles. They are so much better. If you'd have played the Seahawks in this game, Buccaneers, would you have won? Absolutely. But would you have destroyed them like you destroyed the Eagles? No, you wouldn't, because you've got a team that is competitive on both sides of the ball. The Eagles are not. And it pisses me off. The Vikings even better than the Seahawks, in my opinion, this season at least. And they didn't make it either. Then you've got some of the other more questionable teams that didn't make it, but still better than the fucking, the Browns are better than the Eagles. Yeah. They just are.
What have they got? What have the Eagles got that maybe, I want to say, 6 teams in the NFL have got? What have they got? they've got an outstanding offensive line
Yeah.
and an outstanding defensive line. The two stoutest things that you need, where you can generate pressure by rushing 4 blokes.
Mm-hmm.
We play a 3-4 and it pisses me off. I hope that the next defensive coordinator comes in plays a 4-3. Because you don't need to rush an outside linebacker or 2 outside linebackers. You can just generate pressure with 4 people. And their offensive line is ridiculous. I'm glad they're getting old. And that's why I hope to God that's all we spend our draft capital on, getting in a good offensive line. Because it makes him look workable. If you put him in the Giants team,
he's terrible.
You put him in the Giants team, he would get fucking dismantled.
Yeah.
Because he's not got the capability to throw the ball downfield. He's too he thinks he's the absolute bee's knees. And I cannot wait. I gave that on there. He thinks he's the absolute bee's knees.
He's the mutts nuts.
Yes. He's a douche, and I hope they keep him at starting quarterback for next season.
Same, because we will be sat here tearing him to bits every single week because he is genuinely not a starting franchise quarterback. So good luck to Eagles. You got beat by the Brady man, the GOAT, and we've not really spoke about them, but they deserve to be spoken about at the bare minimum. Tom Brady, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans had a game, 120 yards, and this is where the Bucs can hurt you, because historically over the last 2 years they've had a plethora of wide receivers that can all go and do it. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. They've lost a couple of those now, so they're now back to normal football team rosters where you've got 1 superstar receiver instead of 3, and this is a bit more normal for them now. But at the same time, Brady goes and finds him for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans is an elite wide receiver. Amazing. Did everything he needed to do. They're going to be competitive to take themselves to the Super Bowl. The difference might be that they don't have, Godwin and Brown to take them there that little bit easier or more easily. But it just goes to show, if Brady's only got 1 weapon, he'll go to his 1 weapon. Yeah. Simple. So well played.
Game that is.
What, the game coming up? It really is, yeah.
About it, but,
it is. So, as we go back to what game do you want to finish on? I think it's probably just we'll finish on the game that was the last game of the week. So we'll talk about this one now. And this guy got a double slap from both me and Dave. The quarterback of the Cowboys. The Cowboys took on the San Francisco 49ers. So Dallas taking on San Francisco. The Cowboys went into this game 12-5.
Yeah.
What a winning record that is for the Cowboys. But the Niners come in at 10-7. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen, and you definitely said that this was going to happen. But the Niners took it to the Cowboys. They were the more physically dominating, ball hungry, defense pounding team on the day, and they beat the Cowboys 23-17 with a few errors on the Cowboys side of the ball to help the game hit double zeros.
Yeah, and the we've pretty much spoke about it with the game, but the Niners lost Bosa, halfway through, so he didn't even play half the game.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa.
They lost Fred Warner in the final quarter as well.
Yeah.
So that's 2 all-pro, or I think they're all-pro, or at least Pro Bowl linebackers and defensive linemen.
Well, the Cowboys just couldn't get it done. I think the Niners have just got this way of turning it on. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is the ultimate choke artist, because he was the offensive coordinator at the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, whichever one it is.
Offensive coordinator at the Falcons when they lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Dan Quinn was the head coach / defensive coordinator of that same Falcons team. So that's the ultimate choke job right there in that game. And I'm not talking Pornhub.
Super choke job for Dan Quinn. Yeah, you're right though, Dave. On both sides of the ball, they had the chokers, and it nearly happened. Do you know what? It nearly happened. I thought when Jimmy G threw that god-awful interception and gave the Cowboys life, I thought, Jesus Christ, how many times can Jimmy G get away with being so incredibly average, bless you. But Jimmy G is so incredibly average. The Niners with a slightly better quarterback are potentially really deadly.
Oh, 100%. Trey Lance ain't it.
No,
I think
he's not.
They're putting themselves in such a predicament where if instead of drafting Trey Lance where they drafted him, they'd have picked up another really good player. Mm-hmm. I don't know where they picked Trey Lance up. But
first round.
Yeah, well, a first rounder. So they used the first round on Trey Lance when they could have got another exciting weapon or whatever they were going to pick up with it. And now they've got a backup quarterback, who probably isn't. He's not looked anything special when he's come on and played. But if they'd have drafted someone different and traded away Jimmy G for whatever and brought in another good a good veteran quarterback, Kirk Cousins behind that team would be doing bits.
Yeah, he would.
You know, so I don't know. The Niners just seem to be a good organisation that seems to just build teams really well.
Yeah, no, they really do, and I think it depends on how they do for the next couple games if they make it that far. But at the end of the day, we've seen this almost the carbon copy of this Niners team get to the Super Bowl only a couple of years removed against the Chiefs.
They were winning.
Yeah, they were led by Jimmy G. They were winning. They were by all accounts, about to win the Super Bowl until Mahomes put 50p in himself and turned it on. But ultimately, I don't even know where I was going with it other than the fact that Jimmy G is not the answer. And I think it depends on how well they do. They've obviously got into the playoffs, but they kind of, scraped their way in with some last minute wins. There's no two ways about it. The fact that getting into the playoffs is a feat in itself. So that's fair play. But ultimately, Jimmy G is he's not the answer in the Niners world, and they need to realise that really, really quickly. And if they are rolling with Trey Lance, that's a questionable call because their roster is evidently built to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you change a few minor details, minor detail being a franchise quarterback, so maybe not so minor, but like you say, you'd only need to replace Jimmy G with the likes of a Kirk Cousins or, I don't want to say Baker Mayfield, but a Derek Carr, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We shall see.
We shall see. But the Cowboys did lose, and they lost in amazing fashion, apparently being cheated and duped by the refs when actually it was down to a stupid play call by big fat Mike McCarthy, and then an even worse execution of that play call by Dak Prescott, and then some little referee getting blocked in the back before he could set the ball up in front of the centre of the Cowboys. But however it happened, the Cowboys lost, and we love to see that. I love to see the Cowboys lose.
Nothing better.
Last but not least, the game that was played on Monday night in LA. This was kind of the flashy game of the week, I thought. This was the one that had like the fucking star power all over it. Superstar players across the board on both teams. Rams have got Odell Beckham Jr., Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. Cardinals come in with Kyler Murray, JJ Watt, Chandler Jones, Budda Baker. And you think, yeah, this one's going to go hammer and tong. And actually, it was quite the opposite. So the LA Rams took on the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals going into this one 11-6. 11 wins, 6 losses. Rams going in 12 wins, 5 losses. And the Rams controlled the life out of this game. Controlled the life out of it. Did you agree or did you see different?
Rams shut them out in the first half. The Cardinals are the Steelers of last year. With that record where they were undefeated for 9 games. The Cardinals were 7-0, I think, at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And everyone was hailing Kyler Murray as the MVP. Well, guess what? You've got to think to that. He stunk it up real bad. That the sack in the end zone, which would have been a safety, so would have led to the Rams getting 2 points and then the ball back, or having the ball punted to them, led to Kyler Murray instead throwing, I think, the worst interception I've ever seen, which was like some underarm forward pass to the corner of the Rams, who took it on like the 3-yard line and ran it straight in.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst things I've ever seen.
It was terrible. When I was watching it, I couldn't believe it. I just thought, and the thing is, do you know what? He did the same thing 2 weeks before, but he actually threw it out of bounds in the end zone and so got done for a safety. And so you think, can things get any worse? Well, yeah, they actually can. He got done for a safety and now he goes and throws a pick six and is, on his own 3-yard line. Absolutely horrendous. And it's probably because he can't see over, the few blades of grass that stood in front of him. But he got absolutely owned
Yeah.
all day. It was embarrassing to watch. I actually was a little bit disappointed in this game. Like, not taking anything from the Rams because defensively they had a day. But the reason why I was a little bit annoyed about this game was because I expected something better. I expected better from a playoff team. And either it's the fact that the Rams are that damn good, and we'll see that this week, and that might be the case, or the Cardinals just shit a brick. They just come off a big loss to the Seahawks, where they could have clinched, or potentially they could have clinched the NFC West. They choked on that one, and then they go and choke on the Rams, who are coming off a big loss against the Niners. So, I really think that Kyler Murray has got a lot of work to do. And without DeAndre Hopkins, and this is legitimate, so many of Kyler Murray's success or successful plays have come from a fuck it. DeAndre Hopkins is down there somewhere and he just throws it. And Hopkins is such a good receiver that he probably makes Kyler Murray look a lot better than he actually is.
Yeah, agreed. And I was just looking at their record there. So what they were 11 and 6. So they went 6-4 on the second half of the season. 4-6 if they started 7-0.
So that was Kyler Murray ending the Cardinals' playoff hopes by playing abysmally, and the Rams progressing onward by playing rather impressively. And if there's nothing else that you want to take from that match, Dave, we'll move on to the games that we're going to see in the coming week of the Divisional Round playoffs.
Let's do it.
Cool. So, one set of playoff games down, we move into the next set of playoff games. We only have 4 to talk about because it's whittled its way down so nice and neatly. Dave, these are going to be our playoff prologues. So, I'll take the first one. And my first game that I am going to prologue and give information on is the game of the week. The Buffalo Bills going into Kansas City and taking on the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are taking on the Bills in an AFC Divisional Round game. This is showing on Sky Sports at 11:30 at night on Sunday the 23rd of January. This is a QB classic. Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, first round pick in 2018, pick number 7, is taking on the Super Bowl winning, MVP donning Patrick Mahomes, another first round pick in 2017, pick number 10. These two quarterbacks, young, up and coming, hoping to play for another 10 to 12 to 15 years, who knows, are taking each other on. Both teams broke records this week for how high octane their offense was. No punts, no field goals, no fourth downs in the game for the Bills. A touchdown on every drive, on 7 drives. Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns in less than 10 minutes worth of game time. These two are taking each other on. as you said, Dave, this could be and should potentially be the AFC game of the championship, the AFC championship game before the Super Bowl, but instead it's just a clash of the Titans going in, taking each other on, and there are a few things to take away from it. Number one, the Chiefs' offense, in my mind, is better than the Bills' offense, just. However, the Bills' defense is far better than Kansas City's defense, so I really don't know where to peg this one or what to do, but it's going to be a monumental affair.
It is what John Ross would have said is a barn burner. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute banger, innit? I'm pegging the Bills to win, because I think their defense has got enough bits in it to slow down Patrick Mahomes. They've got the corners, they've got the safeties, and I think they've got enough bits to keep the Chiefs guessing. Whereas I think the Chiefs' defense, they're playing Sorensen at safety. He's been burned many a time, and I think they're hungry for it. I think last year, did the Bills go out in the divisional round last year?
No, it was their AFC Championship was the Chiefs and Bills.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oof, so they're going to want revenge for that.
Yeah.
And I think that this is Josh Allen's year. So now that my horse in the race has gone, Big Ben's out, I'm now plugging for the Bills. And I think,
horse? You can't call Big Ben a horse. He's a cow.
Yeah, the cart horse. Now the cart horse is gone. The young stallion has arisen. He's trotted into the arena. And I think the Bills are going to win this one. But it's going to be a high scorer. I'm going to say 41-30.
Wow. I mean, I hope so. In terms of the scoreline, that would be immense. It'd be lovely to see just an absolute show. I'm gonna go on the opposite side of the fence. No shock. I'm sure. No shock to the listeners. No shock to Dave in the fact that I'm rolling with the Chiefs. As much as it's nice to clash on opinion, Dave, and it is, we often do agree. I'm not taking away from the fact that I do think the Bills have got absolutely every chance, considering everything that you just mentioned. But I'm going with this one more out of passion than logic. I'm thinking that if I have to choose between which quarterback can absolutely turn the dial up to 600, I think it's Mahomes. And I think that if he can do that, don't matter who you've got. Bills have got a great defense, but it'll tear you up. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all being healthy. I think the Bills will have their hands full to try and keep the points low in this one. They can definitely score them too, but the Chiefs have also proven that at times their defense can come to play. And if they manage to dial that up, keep Josh Allen contained, there's a hell of a game in here somewhere. So I'm going to say that it's also a relatively high score. I'm going to say, what's that? 7, 21, 35, 30. I reckon 35 to the Chiefs. And I reckon 35, 33.
Oof.
It's going to be tight.
Tis tight. That is what she said.
So that is my first game preview of the Divisional Round playoffs. Over to you, Dave. What you taking?
I will take the Titans from the land of Tennessee against the Bengals. Not from India, from Cincinnati. You talked about first round picks. I'm not going to do that. So this is Joey B taking on oh my god,
Tannehill.
I had the word tit in my mind.
Titterhill.
Why.
Oh, Dave's thinking about tits.
I didn't want to say Titterhill.
Sorry, everyone. Dave's got tits on the mind. This is not. Let's be honest. This is not Joe Burrow taking on Tannehill, is it? This is Joe Burrow taking on Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So the big man is back. Jonathan Taylor's been running wild this season. People have been telling me Jonathan Taylor's the MVP. I'm here to tell you now, you're talking shit. The the superstar MVP of the running world is not some little Weasley man who's actually really well spoken from Indianapolis. He is a unit of a human. He is a man who some would say would run through a brick wall. Some also say that he entered World's Strongest Man and won it twice. He is Derrick Henry. He is the GOAT of running backs. When it's all said and done, when the dust is settled, when the smoke is cleared, Derrick Henry will be the GOAT of running backs. There is none like him. And can the Bengals slow him down, is all I'm going to say. They also, I mean, it's Jamar Chase versus Julio Jones, who scored his first touchdown ever as a Titan the other week. But the Titans have had an extra week of rest and recuperation, and we'll see if that plays a factor, or if some say that playing all the games is better because you don't have the ring rust of maybe missing a week of football.
The ring rust, the ledge between the patch.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's going to. I think it's got potential to be a good game because it's the two opposing offenses, but they're the opposites. You've got the Bengals who like to throw the ball. Joe Mixon has been playing like a complementary part to that, and then you've got the Titans who Tannehill was barely capable of throwing the ball, but their run game is on point. And it'd be very interesting to see. I mean, Derrick Henry has basically had 8 weeks off. Probably more than that. 10 weeks off.
10 weeks off. And do you know what? He's still like the number 6 or 7th running back in the league.
Yeah. So imagine he's going to have 40 carries minimum. Yeah. He's going to, if he puts up anything less than 200 yards, I'll be very surprised. I think he's going to go for it.
Yeah. You would do as well, wouldn't you? If you've been off, you've come back, you're fresh, you're massive. The Bengals historically have struggled to stop the run as well. They've not really had to face some massively run offensive teams. So yeah, you are right. I think, this one's going to be tough for the Bengals defense to handle, considering that the Tennessee Titans have had the rest, considering they're at home. I think though, this is what I think.
What say you?
I say the Bengals do win. I think that the ring rust, the ledge between said vag, may be just too much. And I think that the Bengals are firing on enough cylinders and have got enough connection. Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, CJ Uzama are all operating in turn and in time with Joe Burrow. And they seem to be unstoppable. Let's test that theory, but I think they're going to go into Tennessee and they're going to stretch the field, and Tennessee are going to fall too far behind to the point where they can't use Derrick Henry, and that tends to be the downfall for the Titans. And if that's the case, I see the Bengals winning. So I'm going to go Bengals 27 to the Titans 23.
Okay. I agree. I think the Bengals they're gonna push the ball down the field, and you're right. I think people you can't scheme to stop Derrick Henry without giving up big plays, and because they've got Julio Jones, they've got good receivers, AJ Brown, is he playing? You can't really afford to do that. So the best way to match that offense is by putting up enough points, stopping them early on, so that they have to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. Because pound for pound, quarterback-wise, Joe Burrow is far better than Tannehill. Tannehill is a very serviceable quarterback. He does exactly what he needs to do. He's not bothered about numbers and stats. He just wants to win games. And I think Burrow, I reckon they're going to put it on him and make Tannehill try and win the game. So I'm going to say the Bengalis are going to win 24-21.
Okay. Nice. Bring it on, Bengalis. Back over to me for my final game of the week, and that is the Battle of the Bays. Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Nobody's sitting on the bay in Wisconsin.
You are, but you're frozen to it, and your arse cheeks.
Yeah, you got no choice. You're stuck there.
So yeah, this is the Battle of the Bays. This is Green Bay, which is a very different bay to San Francisco Bay, and Green Bay Packers are taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is in the snowy tundra that will be Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, Green Bay. This is a very difficult place to go and play football. This is a very difficult team to play against. This is a very good, if not some would say MVP good quarterback to be taking on in Green Bay. The San Francisco 49ers are the 6th best team in the playoffs in the NFC right now, and they're taking on the number 1 seeded Green Bay. All of these avenues do not point in the right direction for San Francisco. They all point to the bottom of the bay. They all point to a sinking Niners, and I do believe that is what's going to happen. The Green Bay Packers have looked just show-stoppingly amazing over the course of this season. They've had some little droughts and drops and problems and injuries, but ultimately, when you watch the Packers, you do not expect them to lose. And I don't think that the Niners are going to be the ones to go in there and do it. They're coming off a couple of games where they've been playing in nice places to play. LA, nice, lovely and warm. They've just come out of beating a nice team in Dallas where it's nice and hot and everything's enclosed and there's no wind and there's no cold. And so Lambeau, Lord knows, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers have had the team out in Lambeau, training in the cold, dousing themselves in snow just to prepare for this game. If any team can do it in this condition, the Niners have got a chance because they love to run the ball. They've got a stout offensive line. They'll take it to them physically. I just think that the Packers, they can be physical and they can be technical, and all that technicality all comes from Rodgers. He ain't being beaten at home against the Niners. It's not happening. So it's a hell of a game to watch, though. It's a hell of a game to watch. Great defense of the Niners going against an even better offense, but I think it's written in the stars. It's written in the Bay, and Green Bay are going to take this one. And I peg this to be a low-scoring game, or at least for the Niners. I think the Niners won't put up any more than 16 points, maybe 2 field goals. What's that? 3 field goals. 3 field goals and a touchdown. So I reckon that Green Bay win 28-16.
Okay. Are you saying that Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur have been going Rocky IV on the team? Is that what you're saying? Got them out with trees, doing walking lunges in the snow, pulling up carts, lifting carts, pulling up rocks.
Hand-to-hand combat with snowmen. That's what I'm talking about.
I agree with you. I think the one good thing about having an outdoor stadium, and when the weather comes in, it comes in, is that when these nice, soft southern teams come north, they're not built for it. You know what I mean? And that's why Lambeau is just such a place to go, I suppose. If you're a team, you just don't want to be there. Them having the number 1 seed means that every single team has to go through that cold, horrible Lambeau. And if you look at the teams that are left in the NFC, 49ers, California, Rams, California, Bucks, Miami, all hot places. So I think they've all got to go through the Packers' house. So I think it's written in the stars. I think that the Packers get to the Super Bowl. I don't think they can choke it down this year. Their team's great, and you're right. I don't see the Packers putting up more than 14 points. I think the Niners putting up more than 14 points. think the Packers win 31-14. They're
Nice.
going to get out to a big start, and then I think the Niners will put some late points up. I don't think they've got anything near. As long as they can stop that, stop the run, I don't think they've got a hope in frozen hell.
and
they're going to get
it will be a frozen hell.
They're going to get a run off the tundra.
Yeah, that's it. So both me and Dave think that the Niners are written in the stars to go to Super Bowl 56, is it? I think. I'm not sure.
Which ironically is in the form.
Yeah. Last game of the week. Last game of the playoffs. Divisional round. Dave.
You have got the GOAT going against the Rams. So what is there?
I see what you did there. They're both animals. Dave's funny because they're both animals and they kind of look like each other.
They're both horned animals. On one side, you have the fastest player to get to 50,000 passing yards, Matt Stafford, against the GOAT with 7 rings. He's been to 10 Super Bowls. Only the great Eli Manning can stop this man in the Super Bowl. And Nick
always find a way to drop Eli Manning.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, there's not much you need to say about this game. You've got the Bucs, who are a little bit beaten up at wide receiver, against the Rams, who are extremely not beaten up at wide receiver. And they've got Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp finely tuned for this battle. But they're going against Tom Brady, and you never, ever, ever count out Brady. He's got his favourite machine in Gronk with him. Mike Evans seems to be absolutely peaking for this. The run games, I would say, are fairly similar.
Yeah, pretty evenly matched.
The defences are both disgusting. The Rams probably edging the defense because their corners are better. But the pass rush that the Bucs has got, I would probably say, is on par with the Rams. They've not got a Donald, but they've got they've just got some absolute animals on that D line.
And Dominican Sue.
Shaq Barrett, Dominican Sue, Vita Vea, JPP. They've got Devon White and Levante David at linebacker. The team's disgusting, the Bucs defense.
It is disgusting. Yeah.
Basically their front 7 is amazing. Their back 4 can be very average at times, but it'll be interesting to see. I do think the Bucs win because I think the GOAT will pull it out the bag, and Matt Stafford has a habit. He only threw 15 passes last week in their win, and that ain't going to be enough to get hold on, I'll tell you what he was. 17. He was 13 of 17 for 202 yards. That ain't great.
No.
And I mean, they put 34 points for the Cardinals because the Cardinals are woeful. Tom Brady ain't going to be, he's nowhere near going to be as bad as that. So, he's going to have to pull it out of the bag, I think. And I think if you're physical with Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham, like they're going to be, I just can't see the Rams being able to do enough. I can't see the Rams being able to stop the Bucs, but for some reason I can see the Bucs being able to stop the Rams.
Okay.
Tom Brady's got a great offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be rough, but I think the Bucs win, and I think they take it 24-19.
Okay. I mean, that's tight. It's one score game. I'm really struggling with this one, if I'm honest. It's such... Every game is hard to call, but for me, this one's such a hard one to call, and that's off just not only the teams in terms of the players on paper, but their consistency this year and what they've both been able to achieve. The Rams have won some big games. The Bucs have won some big games. The Rams have been shut out. Well, not shut out, but slowed down by some relatively Bob average teams, and so have the Bucs at times. But I don't know. The Rams beat them already in the regular season, and that makes me feel like Brady ain't losing twice to the same team. That's what it makes me think. It makes me think, might make other people think that the Rams have already beat him so they can beat him again, but it feels to me like Brady's not going to lose twice. And so I'm probably going to go with you. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say the same thing. I think Tom Brady makes it, and it's a Rodgers-Brady NFC Championship, which would be fantastic. Part of me actually wants Matt Stafford to make it because he's been very, very good this season. The Rams have been good this season. I think Sean McVay and the coaching and the back office of the Rams have gone all in this year. All in. Chips in. They've got Odell. They've got Von Miller. This team is disgusting on paper. Disgusting. Full of superstars. And if they don't make the Super Bowl, it's almost for nothing. They may as well be the Seahawks, you know. So I think, I don't know. I'm retracting it. I'm going Rams.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have to. Just because of those moves. I'm just thinking about it now, and I think that actually, if they come to play, the Rams are going to win. They've beaten them once already. I don't want to count Brady out, but you're going there. I'm saying the Rams get it done. The Rams get it done. They beat Brady, and I'm saying that they apply the pressure that's needed. Mike Evans is locked down by Jalen Ramsey, which he's able to do in the past, which leaves Tom with Gronk and Gronk alone. I think the Rams win this one in a bit more of a feisty game. I say Rams 20 to the Bucks. Oh no, they're not being held to that. Rams 24 to the Bucks 20.
Okay.
Such a difficult one that is. I made it right with me like that. But yeah, amazing games. That game, Bucks against the Rams and the Chiefs against the Bills, they are games to watch. Guys, if you're listening, make sure that you switch these on. Playoff football is different to any other football. High intensity, all stakes are on the paper. Make sure you tune in. Me and Dave will be watching it from home, and we'll be building towards that Super Bowl that we'll be taking to Hickory's in Nottingham on the 13th of Feb. It's just one step closer. We're getting there. Final note. I didn't do it on the last podcast, Dave. I've got to do it on this one. I did state to all of our listeners.
When I saw that, I was like, as if he's not bought that on. What a fool. I was like, he's missed the opportunity. Right, yeah. Anyway, fans, thank you for listening.
Basically, guys, if you check out our Instagram page, you can see it in its flesh. I have put it pride of place where Dave sits in our HQ in the End Zone UK. But Dave is being issued and awarded the wooden spoon of our Fantasy League 2021.
To fix. The Russians, they got involved. There's been some sort of cover-up. Derrick Henry's done me dirty.
All the excuses in the world cannot make up for the fact that I alone beat Dave in the final poop gate game of our Fantasy Premier League. Fantasy Football League. And Dave was cast to the bottom of the pile. His first ever wooden spoon. His first ever loss in the Fantasy League. And it's with great regret and huge elation that I present you with the wooden spoon, Dave. There's always next year. You're going to come back strong. Maybe you don't draft Derrick Henry next year and allow me to do the same.
Disgusting.
So yeah, enjoy your wooden spoon, Dave. Eat your breakfast with it, eat your porridge with it, whatever you want to do. Stick it up your bottom, whichever you feel best.
Yeah, wouldn't touch the sides.
And congratulations to Zach for winning the fantasy.
No, that's bullshit. No, I'm not congratulating Zach at all. Firstly, he's a Packers fan, yeah, so he gets everything on a silver spoon anyway. So do you know what? Zach won the two previous wooden spoons, so he's gone from 0 to hero, which is commendable. I will give him that. But other
Zach
than that,
is our 0 to hero award,
yeah,
for sure.
Other than that, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and your fantasy team, the name I think is resounding for next year. Dave's fantasy team is called Jonesing for a win, named aptly after Daniel Jones, who is also jonesing for a win next season, and I'm sure he'll get a few, and we can only hope that in fantasy, Dave also gets a few, and he rises.
Things can only get better.
They can't get worse.
That's true.
So, commiserations to Dave, well done to Zach. Wooden Spoon Award has been dropped on Dave's lap, and we move on to another fantasy league next year. We're going to cover a bit more fantasy next year, I think. We just didn't have the time for this one.
Because clearly we're the experts.
Oh, obviously.
By the way.
Want to be listening to number 1 and 2, bottom of
whatever fantasy information we give you, if you do the polar opposite, you're not going to come bottom.
Exactly.
Or second from bottom.
Yeah, but anyway, needed to get that one out. So thank you for everyone listening, and enjoy this divisional round week of playoff games. This has been In the End Zone UK. My name's Dom. I'm with Big Dave. Get online, follow us, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, like, share, In the End Zone UK. Thanks for listening and enjoy. Namaste.
Latest potatoes.
Namaste.